2 hours ago, the highest-ranking Trump administration official resigned over the war in Iran. Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, posted his resignation letter on social media with a statement that sent shockwaves through Washington. "Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation," he wrote, "and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. This is not a progressive activist or a Democratic staffer. This is a former Army Special Forces officer, a CIA paramilitary veteran, and a man who served 11 combat deployments in the Middle East. A man whose wife was killed by an ISIS suicide bomber in Syria. And he just accused the President of the United States of launching a war under Israeli pressure that serves no benefit to the American people." Before we break down exactly what Kent said, why this resignation matters, and what it reveals about divisions inside the MAGA movement itself, if you appreciate this kind of analysis, hit that subscribe button and like this video so you never miss a story like this. Here is what Joe Kent actually wrote in his resignation letter addressed directly to Donald Trump. "After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." He went further. He reminded Trump of the foreign policy the president campaigned on in 2016, 2020, and 2024. "Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation." Kent said high-ranking Israeli officials and the media ran a misinformation campaign. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. Then Kent made it personal. He mentioned his wife, a Navy cryptologist killed in Syria in 2019. "She was killed in a war manufactured by Israel," he wrote. "I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives." This is a resignation letter that does not mince words. It is a direct accusation that the Trump administration was manipulated into war by Israel and that the justification for the war was false. The White House response was swift and brutal. Trump told reporters Kent was a nice guy but very weak on security. "It is a good thing that he is out," Trump said, "because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was." White House officials immediately started leaking to the press. One called Kent a crazed egomaniac who just wanted to make a splash before getting canned. Another said Kent was suspected of being a leaker and had been cut out of briefings with the president. A third official said the White House had repeatedly told Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to fire Kent, but she refused. But here is the problem for the White House. Kent is not some random staffer. He was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, the agency responsible for analyzing terrorism threats to the United States. He was confirmed by the Senate. He worked directly under Tulsi Gabbard, who herself has spent years warning against war with Iran. And his resignation raises the exact question the administration has struggled to answer since the war began. What was the imminent threat that justified launching this war? The administration has given multiple conflicting answers. After the first strikes, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Iran posed an imminent threat because Israel was going to strike Iran, and Tehran would have retaliated by striking U.S. targets. The administration later backed away from that version. Defense officials told members of Congress that Iran was not planning to attack unless struck first. Trump cited an imminent threat but provided no evidence. The administration has offered shifting justifications including Iran's missile and nuclear developments, but again, no evidence. Kent's letter says the administration was deceived by an Israeli misinformation campaign. It is a serious accusation from someone who had access to classified intelligence. Now let's talk about who Joe Kent is and why his past makes this resignation even more complicated. Kent is not a moderate. He has ties to far-right figures. During his 2022 congressional campaign, he paid a member of the Proud Boys for consulting work. He worked closely with Joey Gibson, founder of the Christian nationalist group Patriot Prayer. He acknowledged that a political consultant set up a call with Nick Fuentes, a right-wing influencer who has made openly anti-Semitic statements. Kent has defended January 6 rioters as political prisoners. He claimed the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. He said the FBI is corrupt and needs to be brought to heel. Senate Democrats opposed his confirmation, pointing to his connections to white supremacists and conspiracy theories. He was confirmed anyway on a 52-44 vote. So when Kent resigns and blames Israel and its powerful American lobby, that language triggers immediate concerns about antisemitism. Republican Congressman Don Bacon posted, "Good riddance. Antisemitism is an evil I detest and we surely do not want it in our government." Kent has denied antisemitism and disavowed racism and bigotry, but his resignation letter focused heavily on Israel. He blamed Israel for pressuring the U.S. into the Iran war. He blamed Israel for the Iraq war. He called the Syrian civil war a war manufactured by Israel. That is why his message is complicated. He raises legitimate questions about the justification for war, but he does so in a way that focuses obsessively on Israel. Here is what makes this moment significant beyond Kent himself. He is the first senior administration official to resign over the Iran war. But he represents a faction within the MAGA movement that is deeply uncomfortable with this war. Tucker Carlson has been one of the most vocal critics, arguing Trump was manipulated into a conflict that betrays America First principles. Megyn Kelly has questioned the war. Former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has criticized it. These are influential voices in the MAGA ecosystem, and Kent's resignation gives them a data point. A former Green Beret and counterterrorism official says there was no imminent threat and the war was launched under Israeli pressure. The administration is now bracing for a Tucker Carlson interview with Kent. 3 sources told Axios that Trump World is preparing for that interview because Carlson has a massive audience and has been relentless in his criticism of the war. If Kent goes on Carlson's show and repeats his accusations with the authority of someone who had access to classified intelligence, it could amplify doubts within the base. The administration is trying to preemptively discredit Kent, but that is harder when the person resigning is a decorated combat veteran who lost his wife in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard posted a carefully worded statement on social media. She did not defend Kent. She did not address his accusations. Instead, she said Donald Trump was overwhelmingly elected by the American people to be our president and commander-in-chief. As our commander-in-chief, he is responsible for determining what is and is not an imminent threat. That is a statement of loyalty to Trump, not an endorsement of the war. Gabbard has spent years opposing regime change wars and warning against conflict with Iran. She and Kent and Vice President J.D. Vance were seen as the anti-interventionist faction within the administration. Last week, Trump told reporters Vance had been maybe less enthusiastic about striking Iran. That faction just lost one of its members. So where does this go? Kent's resignation will not stop the war. Republican lawmakers have largely rallied around Trump. The base supports him. Polling shows MAGA Republicans back the president's Iran policy. But Kent's departure exposes a fracture. There are people inside the administration and inside the MAGA movement who believe this war is a betrayal of everything Trump campaigned on. They believe America First means no more Middle East wars. They believe the president was pressured into a conflict that does not serve American interests. The question now is whether others follow. Could Tulsi Gabbard resign? She issued a statement supporting Trump's authority as commander-in-chief, but she notably did not say whether she agreed Iran posed an imminent threat. Could other officials who share Kent's views decide they cannot in good conscience continue? One White House official told reporters they believe Kent's resignation could lead to a pattern of others stepping away. Another official said they were shocked by the resignation and noted the rarity of a public resignation of this kind. 2 hours ago, Joe Kent resigned and accused the president of launching a war under Israeli pressure. 2 hours later, the White House is attacking his credibility, preparing for a Tucker Carlson interview, and hoping this does not trigger more departures. Trump wanted a quick, decisive war that would end in weeks. Instead, the war is in its 3rd week. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Oil is above $100 per barrel. Allies refuse to send warships, and now his own counterterrorism director has resigned, saying there was no imminent threat. Mark this moment, because this is what happens when a president who campaigned against endless wars launches one anyway. The people who believed in that message do not just disappear. They start asking questions, and sometimes they resign.